stop that one and go back to
To what? Return.
return. Oh, that's the button I was missing.
Return again. Hi Paul, John, Christie, family members and Upland Sister City Association members. This is Dennis Jewell, President of Mildura Upland Sister City, passing my sincere condolences to you all. And I finally recall my trips to Upland and the time we shared here in Mildura. I was part of the delegation that visited Upland in 2009 and we had such a fantastic trip. I know this week-long visit took a deal of organising and planning, with Sharon playing a major role and always ably supported by Paul, Christie and the Upland Committee. I remember how smoothly and seamlessly things went on our excursions, and even during the dinner when Sharon was being rushed to hospital, Christie capably stepped into Mum's shoes, ensuring the good times continued. This was and will be remembered always as a great testament to you and what needed to be done in spite of the dire situation. Especially want to thank Paul for his great support to enable Sharon to do what she did best for the 25 years of involvement with the Sister City Association, that is organising activities and ensuring that we had the best experiences that were delivered on schedule at the highest possible level of professionalism. I recall your visit to Mildura in 2012 to embrace the first Mildura Day. I can recall Sharon's zest and enthusiasm to embrace the reenactment of the signing of the indenture to establish Mildura's irrigation system. The dinner dance and the launch of the Mildura Day song that acknowledges William and W.B. Chaffee. While we separate in distance, we'll always remain close at heart as we continue to embrace our unique Chaffee brother heritage. I know Julie and I are eagerly looking forward to the return visit in 2019 to celebrate the 50 years of Mildura Sister City Association. I'd also like to convey my thoughts from Barbie Cannell to... I always like to add my comments from Barbie Cornell, who visited in 1989 for his wonderful time with Sharon, and those memories remain with her. Also, best wishes from Michael and Cheryl Webb, who can't be with us tonight. So, Vale, Sharon Christensen, thank you. Bit slow. I'd like to introduce Councillor Mark Eckel, Mayor of Mildura City Council, to say a few words.
Thank you very much, Dennis. Well, it's wonderful to be here and to be able to be given this invitation to honour Sharon's name, but I think it's a sad occasion too, because Sharon was a dear friend of us all, but I certainly remember the wonderful contribution that she made in respect to her association over there, and the way that she did it from her heart. And I know I can remember going over there in 2000, and I went over there in 2007 I think, that year, and it was fabulous. And I remember sleeping in Ian Richardson's bed upstairs, and you remember certain things, and Sharon showing us everywhere, all over town, and being such a wonderful host. And then when we came back in 2009 for the 40th anniversary with, I think Sue Nichols was Deputy Mayor at that particular time, and it was once again showed how wonderful Sharon was in organising things and doing it so gracefully. And then in 2012, when Sharon came over for our first Mildura Day, and we're coming up to celebrating our 7th this year, it was just fabulous to have her there once again with the party, and I think Lil came over as well. Absolutely wonderful. So may I say, on behalf of the City of Mildura, all our councillors, staff and the community of Mildura, we'd like to send our best wishes to the family and in memory of the fabulous Sharon. Thank you.
I'd like to introduce Max Whiting, former President and long-standing committee member of the committee. Say a few words. Thanks, Max.
Yes, well, my association with Sharon goes back quite a long way. I think my wife Alison and I first met her in Upland in 1989. We'd flown in from the other side of the States in Boston, and we arrived in LA in the middle of a tropical rainstorm. All the traffic had jammed up and nothing looked like moving, so luckily we'd been given a contact number from Dee Carpenter at the City Hall, and I made contact with Dee, and she said, well, if you phone me back in 10 minutes time, we'll see what we can organise. Sure enough, 10 minutes time, she phoned back to us and said, if you go to such and such a point at the airport, a bus will pick you up and take you to your one of the members' homes. So this traffic snarl was a complete jam, but of course being on the bus we could get a little bit of advantage of crawling along, but I think it took us about 5 hours to get to the home of ex-President John McCarthy and his wife Eileen. We hadn't been there very long and people started arriving, and to the forefront was Sharon. Of course she was there, and in a very short time they'd organised this get-together. There would have been 20 or 30 people there at least, and food and drink and everything appeared, and we had such a wonderful time, and that was our first welcoming to Upland, and it was certainly something which was the beginning of a friendship that went on for many years to come. One of the anecdotes, I suppose you could say, was on a later trip. We were in Upland and Alison wanted to make a hair appointment. So Sharon said she'd drive Alison and myself downtown and took her to the hair appointment, and then it was Alison's birthday the next day, and I said to Sharon, can we find somewhere we can buy some sort of a present for Alison? So she took me to a store with all sorts of perfumes and so forth. So somehow or other, Sharon was called to her cell phone to answer that, and the sales girl seemed to have disappeared. So with nothing better to do, I picked up one of the bottles and seeing what the ladies do, you know, you put it on your wrist and you have a little sniff. And they came back and we made our purchases. Then I said to Sharon, I need to go to the post office to get some stamps. So she waited outside and I went in, and there was quite a queue in the post office. So it wasn't long before the smell of this perfume was wafting forever around the post office, and of course everybody happens to be looking at me. And that was one of the incidents that we had a great laugh over, and we are eternally grateful to Sharon for her work in the forefront whenever there was anything going, whether it was in Mildura or whether it was in Upland. Sharon was there helping everyone to enjoy themselves, and I'm sure both associations will really miss her. Bye, Sharon.
And now I'd like to introduce Eddie Lloyd, Life member, and also past president of Mildura Upland Sister City, to say a few words. Thanks, Eddie.
Well, not quite a Life member, but my wife is.
Oh,
But on behalf of my wife and myself, Paul, we'd like to express our utter sadness at the passing of Sharon. Sharon and you met us a number of times, I think, when we arrived either at Ontario or at LAX, and we have always appreciated the fact that you care so much that you make sure you're there when we get there. And the other thing I remember most about Sharon was when the dried fruit growers turned up, all 16 or so of us, and you took us, or the sister city took us to the Icehouse Canyon somewhere up near Mount Baldy for a picnic lunch of sandwiches, which we were told were made by Sharon. It was a great day. We remember Sharon with great affection. Thank you.
Now I'd like to introduce Wayne Hodges, Deputy President of the Upland City, to say a few words. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Dennis. Paul and Christy and John, Dot and I offer you our very heaviest sympathies. We've been over there 3 times, and Dot and I have had the benefit of the Upland City hospitality, and we had Lil and Tom and Anne, and of course Paul. But head and shoulders and above the rest was Sharon, and well, we all know how enthusiastic Sharon was and how grand the humour and the friendship, and we appreciate that. And yes, so we're deeply saddened over here, and Sharon will always be remembered, Paul, by us. Thank you.
All right. And now I'd like to introduce Alison Whiting, a life member of the Mildura Upland Sister City and former president as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. It is with great sadness that we talk about Sharon and her passing. She was very much a larger-than-life person, and not mostly with her activities. On the visits that we had there, 2 visits Max and I had, and the members were always so hospitable and so warm. I mean, it was a great introduction to America. I will remember Sharon for quite some time, because the last time I was there, and I've never learnt to travel light, at the last minute I needed a carry bag, and she said, "Oh, I've got a spare one," and she went upstairs and came out with a grand-sized carry bag, which I still have. She said, "Oh, bring it back on your next trip." I haven't been back, but I always remember that as this hold-all that Sharon gave to me. I don't need anything to remember Sharon by. She was a charming, lovely lady, and will be sadly missed. Goodbye to Sharon. Thank you.
Now I'd like to introduce Ian Cook, life member of the Mildura Upland Sister City, to say a few words as well. Thanks, Ian.
Thank you, Dennis. Sharon was a legend, and still is. I can remember the first time I met her, her enthusiasm and the way she just bounded around, and so full of life. Now, I guess Paul, and I'd like to pass on our condolences from Chris and I, and certainly I'd like to say hello to all our friends also in Upland. When I think of Sharon, I can think of 2 stories. And the first one is on occasions when we've visited Upland, she's always been very eager to drive us around, whether it was in the van or the car. And on one occasion, I was there with Chris, Helen and Bob Walton, and we were invited to the Mayor's office for breakfast. And Sharon took us and sat out in the quadrangle. She didn't want to climb the stairs. We went in and had a great time, forgot all about her. And she was sitting out there, and I know that, like Queen Victoria, she was not impressed. But when we got back, not a cross word. Big smile, and away we went for the rest of the day. And I always remember that. She was just a wonderful person. I guess the second story is that when our past president Bill got the idea of having a ambassador visit Upland, I rang Sharon to have a chat and just see what she thought about it. And after I explained what we had in mind, she said, yep, that's fine, we can do that, and then launched into a program that she had already organised in her mind of who she was going to speak to and what she was going to do. So, Paul, I know you'll sadly miss Sharon, we will too. We all have fantastic memories of our time in Upland and the visits that you've had here too. So, God bless Sharon.
You can't say from the heart, nobody can.
Right.
And now I'd like to introduce Julie Jewell, my wife and also a member of the committee, and our immediate past ambassador who just went to Upland in 2016 to say a few words. Thank you, Julie.
Yeah. Thank you to Paul, to John, to Christy, other family members, members of the Upland Sister City Committee and just membership. Deeply saddened with the news, but also a time to celebrate, and I recognise today as that celebration of Sharon's life. It's already, so many lovely words have been said, but for me, I first became involved with the Sister City Association through the Chaffey Trail, and my role was to look at how we can market our history, and our local history of course was part of the Chaffeys. And whilst we knew what they did when they arrived in Mildura, their past history we didn't know. And that's where the Sister City Association was extremely relevant, as was the Historical Society and a lot of our local personalities that had travelled to Upland and knew a lot more about the history than I did. In 2009, an opportunity came for Dennis and I to travel over to Upland to help celebrate the 40th anniversary and at a dinner that was hosted. Thoroughly enjoyed that experience, but what was an amazing welcome was we left the plane, and as we were coming down the stairs at Ontario Airport, there was Sharon with a big welcome sign, a balloon and a flower, beautiful flowers growing in a pot and presented to us. We couldn't miss her, and that warm welcome, we knew we were going to have a great time from the start, and we were driven straight away to our guests of Scott and Yvonne neighbour. They've become terrific friends as a result of our week-long stay with them. Many talks and many discussions can be said, but perhaps Sharon and I shared so many memorable experiences. In 2009, it was all the experiences of Huntington, the San Bernardino train trip into LA, the general friendships, the dinners, the breakfasts that we attended as a group and individually. We felt Sharon and I had a real connection with our passion and drive to make things successful and a better community as a result. 2012 saw Sharon and Paul accept an invitation, along with Lil and her family from Chicago, to come to Mildura for the inaugural Mildura Day celebrations, held in recognition of 125 years of the signing of the indenture by the Chaffey brothers. They came to Mildura and we just had a lovely week with them. They attended, as has been mentioned, the day of activities and the night at the gala ball. But just prior to that, they landed in Adelaide to visit a friend who actually started and assisted with the school exchanges. There was Sharon and Paul, one end of the ground, sitting behind a cheer squad for the Adelaide Crows. There was me sitting the other end in a cheer squad, barracking for Collingwood. Although we didn't speak that day person to person, we were on the phones and there was considerable banter. I won't mention the scores, but Collingwood won by a mile. Just saying. That trip was just awesome to have them here and for us to show them around, and I know the Mildura Sister City people loved it, as did our community. But then I had the opportunity, as has been mentioned, to go over in 2016 and met with Sharon on many occasions. We shared many laughs, stories of each other's people that we knew from each other's communities. She arranged several meetings for me, but it was done in such a way, it wasn't a chore, it was a passion. And it was that passion, that enthusiasm and the adrenaline rush that we just loved, and we fed off each other and we laughed. We had a couple of cries about different things, but we shared so many wonderful times and they'll be with us forever. Lots of memories I'd love to mention, but many of them have already been touched on. To you all, our heartfelt appreciation for the celebration and of Sharon's life, and wish we were there with you to celebrate it. But we're here in Mildura. It's jolly 44 degrees. We're in a home, we're gathering, and we're all showing photos and telling stories of Sharon. Great memories, and our thoughts are with you all. Cheers.